To the public. It's 7 o'clock, 7:01 right now. We don't have quorum yet. I want to wait another 3 minutes. So we will start at 7:04. Thank you.
Joe's not coming? Joe's gonna be on fine. Joe's gonna be on my, I'll, that child, if he's not coming, so then I don't have quorum, because they being online doesn't count. I need 7 in person. But they don't have to vote for the schools that they pick, and they don't have to vote for the minutes. And you know, I mean, yeah, the minutes are just really most of the. But anything other than that, you would have to pay them. Oh, yeah, sorry. Do you want to, this Monday, okay. It's on Zoom. Yeah. They did, they sent me the. No. I got a new line on the narrow one. Oh, yeah, that was the email yesterday. Second time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just be Japanese?
No.
Okay, that's not.
No. I think that is Senator coming online or will he be in person?
I was actually teaching a class, well, last night, didn't it, just 6:30 this morning, with the group, was, from Tokyo. And midnight it was nice.
Yeah. What time is it there? Oh, you have to be up.
I just started teaching midnight, so I didn't got there at 30. Finished at 6:30 this morning.
Oh, yeah. I guess he's away. I know, that's a background he's used before. I remember seeing it once before. So she'll send, I'm gonna have Marissa send the Zoom link to Carly, she'll send it over to you. Like, I remember seeing that once before. Morning. I got myself into so much.
Am I here? I don't see any video.
You soon, and I.
You don't see the video?
It's not a list.
Oh, that's good for the child.
Nothing about. Good.
Same here. What happened to Joe?
He's online.
Joe, we can start the meeting without you.
Okay, it's 7:04. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Even though I think we're still missing some members. Carly, can you please do the roll call?
Okay. When you,
Present.
Karun Rashid,
Present.
Frank Child absent, Joseph House, he's online.
Present.
Daniel Lee Parson, back there. Alvin Hunt,
President.
Ainsley Mao, absent. Peter Rubenstein, present. Robert McGuire,
President.
and Lauren Brooks is absent.
Okay, just as a reminder, we need 7 members in person in order to vote on any, new business or what have you. So hopefully next month, we will have 7 members in person. Please take a look at the July minutes. Mhm.
Anything else?
No one else, right? Let me know if somebody else comes in.
All approved?
You're good, just make me good.
You all agree?
Eden?
Okay.
You good, okay. Alvin, Carol?
Yep.
Okay. July minutes approved?
Okay.
Okay. We will have Senator John New, here tonight. I will introduce him as soon as he arrives. And so up next on the agenda is the president's report. For September, we will have SCA coming to give us a presentation on capital projects taking place in District 25. I think I asked him to maybe talk about budget and funding that District 25 will be receiving. And also last term, the council made recommendations to SCA to make some improvements at our at some of our schools. So I asked them to give us an update on that as well.
Children, get me some empty bottles, okay?
If anyone have any questions about their school, if they know that their school is, there's projects going on at their school and want an update, they could bring questions to September meeting. So Shirley's here, Holly. Also, the council needs to decide on the school liaison list. So what I know is before the pandemic, members visits schools in District 25 and we get to meet the parent coordinator and the principal of the schools. They'll give us a tour of the school and we'll discuss any issues that they're experiencing. And so we're going back to that this year. We started a list. There are still some schools that okay, so Mr. Chow hasn't. Joseph, Joseph, for those schools that hasn't been assigned already, do you mind taking them?
Well, that's a couple of them. There's 7 here.
So far, I think we each were assigned to 4. You know, one of us can take up another school. We will finalize this list in September, and hopefully Mr. Chow will be in person and will be present at our next meeting. I don't know, Mr. Chow? I think he's glitching too.
Okay.
So we'll come back to this list in September. And then what will happen is, Carly will contact these schools and coordinate with the schools to let us know what time and day that we can make the visit. So coordinate with Carly, your availability.
I lost audio. I'm back.
Okay,
Joseph, do you have schools you want to pick? You didn't pick any.
Are we picking schools like 1 per person?
No, there
Wait,
was 4 per person.
Yeah, at least 4.
4, right?
Well, okay, so if I may make a recommendation, why don't we go around pick 1 school at a time? This way nobody gets everything he wanted, because we picked the same schools.
Well, we already, the only one who didn't pick was you, so there's 7 schools.
Okay. Okay. Well, wait, did you tell me, do you say we only have 7 schools? I only have 7 schools left to pick?
Yeah, it was-
Take
Wait.
all 7 of them.
No,
Okay.
I will take PS 24 also. So now
Okay,
there's-
hold on for a second. Right? I'm gonna try to fix the audio because I can't hear. Hold on.
what I'm trying to say is we already, there's obviously, he has to pick, you guys are gonna pick the school.
Yeah, I know, but then he's not gonna pick all 7.
I understand,
Yeah.
but he's not understanding that we already, that they, that list that I sent is the same list that I gave you guys right now.
Uh-huh.
He just has to pick.
Okay,
So you're gonna take-
so Joseph, are you going to pick now or wait until September?
What schools are left? What I was trying to say is that we should go around to pick.
Do you have
Because,
the
you
list
have-
in front of you?
Okay, so for example, right, I wanted 21, 185 or 194 or 242. If these schools,
Yeah.
242, it's a school by the superintendent's office.
I think the school that you mentioned has already been chosen by another member. So
I know, what I'm saying is that if we go around, years of working with UFT tells me the fair way to do something is nobody gets what he wants, or you get some of what you want. If somebody already picked, I didn't pick first, that's really, I mean, I don't.
But you know, I'm not everyone.
So are you basically implying that there's 7 schools left? I have to choose from where no one else wants.
Yes, correct.
All right, so I don't know who decided that. I don't think that's democratic. So which other 7 schools left?
Holly had sent an email about this about 3 weeks ago. Did you respond to her email? I don't want to waste any more meeting time on this, so we will finalize the list in September.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Pre-K centers, is this one place or bunch of places?
2 places, but they're not far from each other. Yep, one's in Whitestone right here, and the other is about a mile away in College.
Okay, you want to do the superintendent report?
Probably gonna give Louis. Yeah, he got it. Perfect.
So I will probably up my report. I hope that all of our members had the opportunity to meet Dr. Dantona. I know he wasn't here during our last meeting, but he's excited to meet all of our members. I have also spoken with Wendy, and I just want to make sure that the council is okay, but Nathan, our special education supervisor, is ready and willing to present in October, because I know that you have SEA coming in September. And from my understanding at the last meeting, Nathan can do a presentation on anything that you are interested in regarding special education. But he did a very nice informative presentation for our families on the referral process. So if there is anything any other member would want him to include in his presentation in October, just let us know and we'll be happy to add that to his presentation. Mhm. Yep, IPs into, yeah, it's inclusive in that, yep, he has that. Okay, and then I also spoke to, oh, yay!
Oh, look at you all golden. Our favorite superintendent. You can say something.
There we go, I remember that. So we also, I also. She likes men better. I also spoke to.
On there. Just getting people alert.
I also spoke with Wendy that we have one student who's been vetted for our student representative. And I will be interviewing that student on Monday. I invited Wendy to join me, so my office will send you the Zoom link. So hopefully we'll be able to have the candidate by our next September meeting, and I'm really excited for that. Okay, so Louis, you can go through the report. Free summer meals continue. Carly, can you just do me a favor and move the slide screen? Yep, perfect. Throughout New York City to anyone 18 years and older, and under, designated public schools, community school pool centers, parks, and food trucks are open for service. No registration, documentation, or ID is necessary to receive a free breakfast or lunch meal. Service dates and menus are from Wednesday, June 28th to Friday, September 1st. And we have a summer breakfast menu and lunch menu. In District 25, IS 237, junior high school 250, junior high school 185, PS 20, and many more community-based locations are available. So you can click on to find a location near you, or what is that thing called again? Yeah, thank you, the QR code to get you information on where our free summer meals are throughout the city. Pre-K and pre-K offers are now available. Families who apply by the March 13th deadline can access their offers in one of the following ways. You can go to online at myschool.nyc, calling 718-935-2009, or you can visit our Family Welcome Center. The closest one to District 25 is on the second floor here at the Linden Place building. Back to school enrollment support. Families with students entering grades pre-K to 8 can always go to their zone school directly to register for schools. For all other enrollment supports, Family Welcome Centers serve New York City families with enrollment and admissions across the city. If you need help, you can set up an appointment by calling 718-935-2828 or emailing your local Family Welcome Center. As I had said earlier, serving District 25 and 26 is the Linden Place Family Welcome Center on the second floor. You can also email Linden Family Welcome FWC, which is Family Welcome Center at schools.nyc.gov, and their direct line is 718-281-3422. So I know we're saying introducing New York City Reads, but this is really a continuation from the very strong work that we have been working on since the spring of last year. But beginning the 2023-24 school year, we will be launching an initiative full first across the city, but all of our schools called New York City Reads. The goal is to ensure that all New York City students become strong readers, which is the single most important skill required for educational, career, and lifetime success. Based on extensive research, New York City Reads will ensure that pre-K and elementary school students receive the most effective reading instruction materials and methods. And for District 25, we will be also supporting our middle schools in this work. Phasing in over 2 years, New York City Reads will require all early childhood education classrooms to adopt a single uniform curriculum called the Creative Curriculum, while K-5 schools will choose one of 3 approved phonics-based reading curricula that have been proven to be effective. So in District 25, we are in phase 2, which is we will be implementing creative curriculum in our pre-K centers next year. For our K-5 schools, we are in phase 1. And as we have spoken about during our CEC meetings and across the district last year, we have chosen Into Reading as one of our 3 approved phonics-based reading curricula. The new literacy program will be implemented in the 15 community schools. District 25 is one of them, with all districts adopting it the following year. So as always, District 25 is progressive. I would like to make a recommendation for our new members, and as we start in the 2023-24 school year, we can have our instructional leads come and present Into Reading at one of our CEC meetings, but we will also be speaking about it across the communities, and principals and teachers will be addressing it with our families as well. So Lewis is going to show Chancellor Banks, New York City Reads Initiative.
Did you guys hear it?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, good.
In New York City, the reading outcomes have been not good for a long time. And it's clear that we need to do something different.
This is a national problem. It's a national crisis. It's a civil rights issue. And it's the educational crisis of our time. When I went to PS 161 in Crown Heights on Montgomery Street, I learned to read. And so did everybody else in the school.
It's whole-scale change, and that's right. And it isn't just a small group of people that need to do it. It's across our entire system.
Everybody in this room is going to play a role in the resurgence of reading and literacy in our city.
It has a phonics program, and then the phonics program connects with the reading and the writing. So all three go together.
When parents send their children to our schools at the earliest ages, there are two things that they should absolutely be able to expect, and we're supposed to be able to deliver. Their child should be safe, and their child should learn how to read.
I never knew what the word said. I would just say different words that the book did not say. But as I grew bigger, I learned how to read chapter books and different types of books and read the words, what they say.
You guys and ladies, you've been waiting for this moment for a long time. And is it going to be perfect? No. But damn it, we're going to try.
Once you learn to read, you will be forever free. We owe that to every single one of our kids. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's get busy.
Okay, so before I go forward, are there any questions about New York City Reads?
What is it? I've been to many meetings and I'm still not clear. It's just saying that we're gonna have a unified reading curriculum. But a district like 25 and 26 and others that are successfully educating their kids are just doing what they normally did, just teaching children to read. Is there a new tracking formula? Is there something different than what we were doing in 2019?
Yes. So New York City Reads is not necessarily going to a unified curriculum. It is part of the work that we're doing, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But New York City Read is really focused, and it starts in early childhood grades to ensure, and this has been around for a national focus for many years, is saying that if students cannot read by grade 3, their success across schools and being college ready diminishes greatly. So the focus starts with students learning to read by 3rd grade.
So what were we doing before? That's right. You were
So-
teaching children to read at an early age in this district.
Correct. Correct. But one of the things that we have done now is we are taking a closer look at our phonics and phonemic awareness programs. But we are also looking a little bit more strategically. Something that we were stronger in was other pillars of reading, vocabulary and comprehension. But when we did, since 2019, take a closer look at our phonics and phonemic awareness in our early childhood grades, what we found was that we needed to provide a little bit more support and training for our teachers, because although we were using phonics and phonemic awareness programs, the training with fidelity and integrity of the programs that we were using needed to be improved. So we spent the past year working with our literacy teams, going into classrooms, creating model sites, making sure that our teachers had unpacked and had the information and the tools and the understanding that they needed in order to support stronger phonics and phonemic awareness programs, which in District 25 is Hegarty and Foundations. What we have also done is continued our work in supporting teachers in the other pillars of literacy, such as deepening their understanding of vocabulary instruction, how we're looking at the teaching of comprehension tools. So we are revisiting it in some ways, but also really sharpening our tools as teachers in how to implement these different pillars of literacy in different ways. We are also using different types of assessments across the district. So in our early childhood grades, we are using screeners as well as Acadians, right? Acadian screener, which measures phonics and phonemic awareness of students, which we are then able to support teachers in making sure that they're targeting the needs of the individual students they've taught. We also have trained over 450 of our early childhood teachers in the science of reading, which is not just about curriculum, but it's also about what the brain does as it's learning to read and how teachers can recognize particular things that students are doing as they're learning to read and to make those corrections and connections, which is part of phonics and phonemic awareness. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing in District 25 as always, and I love to see that you smile.
Wonderful explanation.
Yeah.
Will that also impact the whole school for the entire, like vocabulary or things like that?
So, so not necessarily spelling tests, but what it will talk of, what you will see a little bit more is the types of words that students are asked to read, how they're asked to blend words and break apart words. So where students will be independently reading, they will also be spending more time in really understanding how to pronounce words and why certain vowel sounds are made. So I don't think you guys are as old as me, but I always used to think I'm young, but now I'm old. But like when I went to school in the 70s, there was very strong phonics and phonemic awareness programs, right? Where you used to sound out words and really understand how words are blended. So some of the things that we were doing when kids were learning to read, and it was very interesting for me because I come from a middle school space, right? I was a principal in a middle school, a teacher in middle schools for many years. But when we started doing this work, one of the things that we watched students do is as they were exploring reading, we would ask them to look at a word and then look at the picture. And so what I watched a student do was the word in the book was television. And he said TV, right? Because he looked at the picture and he said TV. But what he could not do was sound out the word television. So as we were doing research and going into classrooms and asking students to read, we found that we did need to spend more time with our phonics and phonemic awareness programs, which is what we spent a lot of time doing last year. Now, going to the universal curriculum, because we will be using Into Reading, we will not be using the Into Reading phonics and phonemic awareness program. We're going to continue with Foundations and Hegarty, which ends with our training for our teachers in letters, which will move to the third pillar of vocabulary. What I just wanted to understand what was that? So what we found now is we're using the common curriculum into reading. In District 25, we have always done an amazing job in supporting our learners. But what we will be able to do better now is speak from the same tools and resources to look at and strengthen core instruction, to ask our teachers to use the common tools that we're using, the screeners that we're using, to know their students better and to align their instruction to meet the specific needs of their students. So now where Dr. D'Antona and I would go into different schools, and this school would be doing one curriculum, and this school will be doing another curriculum, and this school will be doing another curriculum, we can all speak from the same tools and resources and literature and supports. So we're really excited about that, really unpacking that. And we spent the first part of the spring and all of June working together as a district, K-8, to develop modules and teaching points where all of our teachers are ready and prepared with Module 1 to start in September and halfway ready to Module 2. We are holding office hours, our instructional team, for teachers who have questions, for leaders who have questions, and we're going to continue the supports that we have always offered for our schools. And we also have additional outside support vendors who Dr. D'Antona and I have already met with around going into schools and making sure that teachers are supportive in both data dives, looking at the needs of their students, but then really being able to apply teaching practices through model lessons and mentoring classrooms and setting up model classrooms where teachers are supported to best implement New York City Reads, not just the curriculum. So we're still going to go through our reading, learning to read and reading to learn model.
So, my daughter goes to ESI from 99, and I'm so blessed. They have this thing called they have this software, the learning thing to read and write and to do math. Well, iRes, and then there's another one. iReady? iReady, and I forgot. I'm gonna text my wife. So what it does, I'm not sure if it's for every school, but that's
It is.
it's very, oh, it is. I mean, it's a wonderful thing they're doing, and it's just like you having a private tutor to teach them how to read. Like you were saying, break break a word into different things, 2, 4, 5, the silent vowel and consonant and all these things. It's wonderful. I'm real happy what they're doing.
Yeah.
ESI is 199.
I am happy too. I was just with your principal today. At
At
2:19, yeah, summarizing.
Oh, yeah, she's a good.
Yeah, so, I think you guys, if you decide whatever month you want us to come, we will do a breakdown of interreading. We'll also talk about foundations and Haggerty, as well as some of the MTSS, some of the resources that we're using for our tier 2 supports and tier 3 supports, and that might be some of the things that you're describing as well. We have programs like Zern to support our students in math. We have a Mira, which is an IA program that helps students learn to read. So we will, whenever you decide, come and make that presentation as well.
Yeah. When does Dr. D'Antona usually make your presentation with the data?
So he usually does that at the beginning of September, but as we know, that state data is delayed. But I will say, as many of you know, Dr. D'Antona is the data guru. So as soon as it comes in, you will have it at the next meeting.
When did you put it to the state or something?
They have not really released it. They did say September, October, right? Yeah, so we usually have it in August. I know that Dr. D'Antona stays up and waits, kind of like, tickets to a movie or a concert. As soon as the state data comes out, he's out. 1 in the morning, he's like, I got it. I got it. Okay, next slide, Louis, thanks. I think he fell asleep.
Louis.
There you go.
There's a delay. I've been changed it.
No, she told me to.
I did, but he listened to you over me, right? So I want to congratulate our District 25 principal retirees. As many of you are at those schools, you know that I have sent letters home to the schools that we have gotten approval from my recommendations for interim acting principals. But we want to congratulate the following principal retirees: who have all been here since I've been here, and they will be missed. Amazing leaders that when you talk about District 25 and the things that we do, these are the people that help to make it happen. So Marilyn Alisi from PS 129, she's been the principal there for over 20 years, so we will miss her dearly. Deborah Cassidy from PS 24, for those of you who know Miss Cassidy, she is a powerhouse. And has made amazing things happen in her school, and she will be missed. Anna DeMilta from PS 184, she has been a pillar to both her community as well as District 25 and a mentor to many. Denise Basillo from PS 214 and Teresa Mashar from Q 185, two really strong leaders who are right here near us. And you know, I tell the story, of many of you know, Ms. Bashar and I were teachers together at IS 25. So, and she has created such a fantastic school that 185 is today. So we will miss all of our amazing leaders and wish them all a happy retirement in the next phase of their lives. Don't know lose. So our summer rising sites for 2023 for community members that do not know are PS 21, PS 24, PS 29, PS 154, PS 163, PS 193, junior high school 185, 189, 237, and PSMS 219. So we are really proud and happy to be offering our free summer programs to more than 4,000 students across the district this year. Here's some of the exciting things that are happening across Summer Rising. We have different costume events and days. There are trips. I think that's a crazy hair day. Today it's at 163. There was a lesson on community. We want to thank our local FDNY, NYPD, and other community leaders who came to work with our students. Many of our students gave thank you cards to our local community members. So Con Edison was there. They got sprayed with water. I was on the phone with the principal. They were screaming. I was like, what's that? It was a fun day at 163. So I also like to announce our interacting principles, which the slide got a little shifted, but for PS 24, replacing Deborah Cassidy will be Miss Kwani Singh. PS 184, replacing Anna DeMilta is Grace Lee Sim. Junior high school 185, replacing Miss Mashar is Michael Lee Young. All three of them have been assistant principals in the schools that they will be serving as interacting principals, and we are very happy that they will be continuing the work that's happening in all three of these schools. PS 129 will be coming soon, as well as PS 214, the announcement, but both of those recommendations have gone to the Chancellor for his review, and as soon as we hear back, we will be meeting with the community and sending community letters. So next month, we will be welcoming our new interacting principals to PS 129 and 214. And is that it, Louis? All right.
That's it.
So there is a hiring practice that is part of a chancellor's regulation by which you hire a principal. It's called the C30 regulation. So what happens is if there is an interacting principal that is assigned to the school, and many times there is a posting that is 15 days long. And then after the posting happens, I review all of the candidates that have come in. Dr. D'Antona meets with the hiring committee at each individual school that is made up of CSA members, teachers, and up to 7 parents, correct? 4 to 7 parents. So he meets with the C30 committee, explains to them the chancellor's regulation and the hire we on the C30 committee. Because it's also used for assistant principals. Yeah, explains to them the process. then what he does is he asks, oh, and Louis put the regulation in the chat. He asks each hiring committee what they would like to see in a leader, the qualities they would like to see in a leader. He asks them to go back to their constituencies, which includes children.
Yeah.
They give that feedback to Dr. D'Antona, which he gives to me. I go through the resumes and I select 5 to 7 candidates to be interviewed by the C30 committee. The C30 committee meets once again with Dr. Mike. It is about a 4 or 5 hour meeting. They organize questions together, and then the committee rates each of the candidates and then sends those ratings to me, and I do level 2, make a final recommendation to the chancellor. So it usually takes about 3 or 4 months. Okay, any other questions for me?
I just have a question. It's regarding parent and teacher. So let's say, I'm giving you my example, right? There were like, my daughter was in kindergarten, now she's gonna go to the first grade. A1 and A2. In the first grade, there are 2 sections again, right? So what I did is I'm very involved in the, SLP and all these things. The older one grew by itself. I didn't even realize I was too busy working, so I'm trying to pay more time to the little one. So what I requested, and I'm very good with the teachers and everyone. So I requested the acting teacher and the principal and everyone that can she be on this class, right? Like there are 2 classes. So I already know that teacher. I'm very good at work. My daughter plays with her and everything. But the principal and her found out that she was not in that class. Now I'm not saying that she has to be. I'm just saying what is the process? Is the teachers or the people who select classes? It's random based. You hear me, but I put a request that can you please put it to teacher A, right? The teacher B. And like repeatedly I say so many, all that because I get to see them on every month, on every meeting. But that was not done. But is there any process or it is up to them? I mean, do they listen to the parents or? And it's not a complaint. I just out of my curiosity, I just want to know the process. Like since you put so much importance on the parents, on the teachers, what they like. Even on the principal in hiring, you ask the children, right? So that we were like playing everything. We were so excited. She's gonna get this teacher, but no, you go here.
So we always say that the parents can make any type of recommendations that they choose for any reason, and so the parents will never be denied the opportunity to do that. But we also know that the final decision of programming is up to the principal. And we say, although we would like to honor parent requests, so you have one teacher who, depending upon the grade, has, 18, 25, 30 seats. So there is not a process for a parent to choose a teacher, but there is a process for a parent to make a recommendation to the principal at any time.
So there is a process.
To make a recommendation, yeah. Parents are free to make a request and say this is the, but there's no requirement to honor the request. Okay, thank you.
So I received an email, if anyone is interested. There are several new high school projects in Queens because Queens it's overpopulated and we don't have enough high school. So there will be 3 new buildings, 3 new high schools for Queens. Building Q472 at 5316 Northern Boulevard, that's District 30. Anticipating to open September 2025. Building Q497 in District 28, anticipation to open September 2026. And we actually have one in our district, building 2510, which is 1320 124th Street. I think that's College Point. Anticipating to open September 2027. If anyone is interested, there is a presentation to discuss the plans and the facilities on August 9th. And we can, if you're interested, please put your email in the chat and we'll send you the details. Are there any requests for public speaking?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Come back here enjoying my ice cream.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to make sure that I came in person to introduce myself to the new council. My name is Venus Ketchum. I am a community and parent leader in education across Queens and across the entire city. I've been attending CECs consistently since my son started pre-K in 2011. He is now going to be a senior at Bayside High School. So I've made it through the system. Congratulations to me, this last leg is a doozy. I am a product of school, I'm a proud product of School District 25. I never even really understood districts until my son entered the public school system. And then once I became a parent activist, I'm a community education activist, I started understanding the differences between districts. So I grew up in Flushing, what I now know is called Hillcrest, in between Kew Gardens Hills and Fresh Meadows. I went to PS 154. I went to junior high school 168, which is now QSI and Robert F. Kennedy Junior High School. And I graduated from Jamaica High School class of 1997 and Hunter College, CUNY Hunter College. And I've been attending this CEC since 2013, when they used to have their wonderful parent symposiums at your school, IS 25, which a lot of my friends' children have attended. That's where I met Carmen Farina there, and we used to have the Chinese parade there. So that's when I fell in love with your school district. We fell in love because later on I realized that this is my school district that I grew up in. But I'm committed to closing, I haven't said this in a while, the racial, economic, and academic achievement gaps across the city, and specifically in this school district, the stark difference between certain pockets of this district. I'm also very passionate about special education services, as this is one of the districts with a large ESL, ENL, MLL population. I'm also here tonight shouting out an organization, a group called the Black Resource Network for African Americans, for Black people in Queens. They're going to be having an educators brunch in September, Saturday, September 2nd at Springfield Gardens High School. But again, I attend every CEC in Queens from 24 to 30, which is where I work in District 30. I worked in District 26 for 12 years. I am an educator, so I'm very familiar with the school system. I am a paraprofessional high school student for 12 years. Now I work at an elementary school in District 30. I'm also passionate about literacy. I remember my struggles to read, and it wasn't until my adult age that I could now connect it to my ENT issues and auditory processing. So I'm also very passionate about dyslexia and psychological evaluations to truly understand how children think, so we can teach them how they learn. But I also want to make sure that I emphasize to this brand new CEC, I'm always a little skeptical of seeing people that I haven't seen before they got on the council. There's a lot to learn, and this is not the space, and it could be the space, but this is the space for the community and parents to come and ask their questions. And I want to make sure that you guys and girls do your homework so that you can be the liaison and have the answers and not be asking questions that you're charged with supporting our families and getting their answers. So I want to make sure you do your homework and your research about all the schools in the district. I'm very passionate about PS 154, PS 165, PS 201, PS 164, PS 200, These are schools in the area where I grew up, and you can see the stark difference in the academic performance of these schools that are very close to each other. So I would love to dissect that. Also, the racial demographics of schools within this district and the difference in their academic performance. So that's what I'm always coming to hear about, is about closing that gap and really being able to be fearless in looking at that gap and discussing that gap and making sure that we're discussing schools at this meeting, that you've visited schools, that you've attended SLTs, and that you have information to share about what schools need. Not just the good stuff, but do they need a new water fountain? Do they need additional academic resources? Some schools have Mion, some schools don't. Some schools may have Zern, some schools don't. We want to make sure that every child has access to the same high quality resources so that this district can be leading the way. We know y'all are 4 steps away from District 26, and I would love to see y'all get to maybe number 3, as well as my home district. So I live in Jamaica, Queens now, in School District 28. I was a part of the diversity plan and the diversity working group. I don't know if you heard me on the podcast, School Colors Season 2, where I discussed the discrepancies in the south side of Queens and the north side of Queens in District 28, which goes from Rochdale Village and the Coast Island all the way up to Forest Hills. So thank you for giving me more than 2 minutes, and it was an honor to introduce myself.
Thank you so much. One of the topics that we discussed at the end of last school year that I want to revisit and see if there's any progress is the security camera. Which should be rolling out this year, right? And if we could get someone to come and give us an update.
Judy Aguirre Nunez to come. I will also be able to work with her to send Carly an update on the schools. You know, one of the good things is that many of our schools, because they've had construction, have also gotten security cameras. And we also have, because of the work of the CEC, many of our schools that will be part of the school locking pilot as well. So we have the list of those schools too that we can give to Carly.
Are there any other public speaking online? Any questions from any members? Any interest in any topics that you have interest in?
Not interest, little bit inquiries about school liaisons, you know, what are we, like, will somebody tell us what to do? What are we looking at? Maybe we don't want to cross boundaries.
Yeah, so Carly, there is something that came from FACE. You have it, you have the, yeah. You know, and one of the things that principals are really excited to do is to work with parent leaders, just to really gain an understanding of what the school is about, right? So it's never crossing any boundaries to sit and talk about, like, what are some of the things that you love about your school? What are some of the things that we can help you with, that you want me to know, things that I can change, you know, or support you with. And our principals are really open and honest about that. So other than that, everything else is it's made very clear in that document. I really love it. It's about making it, you know, not just going in, making sure you make an appointment, that you can't necessarily speak to children, you know, so it's this, everything that you would need to know before you went into the building is there, but you know, it's really just a conversation about getting to know what the schools are about. And the more time you spend in schools, the more you get to know about them.
And also a lot of times the school will be, I can send a letter and I can do okay, this is they are, if you have time to meet with them or transport it. A lot of times what happens, they'll invite you to an event or it's not something, I haven't seen it yet where it's every month that there is you know, you're in the school, but when they do reach out, most of the time you guys go, you have events, so especially when SCA that season comes around, we definitely reach out and we want you to come. And then they just report and I don't think it's too, it doesn't sound like it's too
Maybe I can also rephrase my question, how can I be beneficial to the
They're gonna
school
tell you.
that
They'll let you know.
Oh, yeah, they'll let you
They'll
know.
let you know.
Say, I mean, just those 2 questions, they're like, you know, tell me what you love about this school, and then Tell me some of the things that we need to change and how can I help, you know, what, yeah, and then.
And do we get like parking from?
No, I don't.
We see the school you pay.
Yeah, no, my schools, there's no parking.
One ninety-three. Oh, 193, forget it. Parking is there.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. There's a lot of people.
The one has no parking, I'll send it to Joe. Joe said.
Okay, we have Senator Review coming in a minute or so. We're honored to have him here tonight. He is also the chairman of the New York City Education Committee. So as soon as he comes in, we will introduce him and he can meet the new council.
For 25, do we have Senator Lou or we have someone else? too?
On other occasion, we have Councilwoman Sandra Hong, Vicky Palladino. Who else have we?
Neil is an assemblywoman, there's also Ed Bronstein. There is Councilman Gennaro.
Gennaro, does these people come here by any?
We get a lot of, yeah, Vicky had a little, I know he's represented. Right, well, come here. As a regular.
Can we request the councilman and the?
Last in January, we had a Chancellor meeting and we had Chancellor, coming to our meeting. Hello, Senator Liu. We've been expecting you.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
Congratulations.
Have the floor.
Right now?
Right.
Right into the elevator. What's happening?
You wanna have a seat?
Yeah, I guess like, is a Zoom setup, I guess?
Yeah, you're right there.
No, Wendy, please, you have a seat, I'll stand. Is that okay?
Yeah. This is my song.
I will use the mic. Good evening, everybody. I'm so happy to see everybody here in person as well as in Zoom land. Congratulations to our new CEC 25 members. I know we have a whole bunch of them. Thank you for your commitment to service and for helping our school kids and our school district. 25 is, I always, Danielle knows, I always brag that I grew up in District 25 from kindergarten, like the Monday after I immigrated here from Taiwan.
Wow.
So PS20, PS22, all District 25, and it's a great district. I want to congratulate Wendy on becoming president. It's a big job. It's a big responsibility. We want to give a congratulations to Joe as well. He moved on to bigger and better things as well. Yeah, we'll make it come back. Joe misses you. I saw him a couple weeks ago. But once again, thanks to the returning members as well, because your ongoing commitment really is a benefit for our schools. It's necessary, especially with more parental engagement. This is what makes our schools as great as they are. And I don't have to say, you don't have to hear from me. District 25 are the best schools in the entire city. Because we have a fantastic superintendent. Danielle Domingo. I not only have the privilege of representing, I think pretty much all of District 25, CEC 25. There might be some small niches outside of my Senate district, but I would say 98% of CEC 25 is in my Senate district. And yeah, I have a fair amount of District 26, as well as I think a little bit of 28 as well. So It's a big area that I cover, but not only do I have the privilege of being the state senator for this part of Northeast Queens, I also chair in the state senate, I chair the committee on New York City education. I'm a member of the education committee, which kind of deals with a lot of issues all throughout the state. I'm also a member of the higher education committee, as well as the finance committee. So these things all tie in together, but my focus is on the committee on New York City education, given that not only are we the largest, by far the largest school district in the state, but also in the nation as well. So we've got a lot of issues that we deal with right here in New York City. And one of those issues, Wendy said, I gotta come talk about class sizes. And class sizes, you know, we have legislation. There was an IBO report a couple of weeks ago that said it's gonna cost a lot more money. And my response is, yeah, doesn't take a genius to figure that out. We're gonna need a lot more money. And we have a lot more money. That is what the additional foundation aid. So I don't know how much time I have to spend on this. I can talk about this for 3 hours straight. You don't want me to talk for 3 hours straight, right? You want me 3 minutes? Okay, so somewhere between 3 hours and 3 minutes. How about 2 hours? Not 2 hours. I will make it as quick as possible. All right. My legislation actually should not have been necessary. We should never have even had to pass a bill. You know why? Because the city of New York, like with every other school district in the state of New York, is required to provide a sound basic education. That is in our state constitution, sound basic education. Now, starting 30 years ago, parents in New York City sued the state, saying that, well, even though the Constitution requires us to have a sound basic education for every school kid, my kid's not getting a sound basic education. And it took almost 10 years for that litigation to get through the courts. And then by 2003, and then affirmed in 2005 for the state's highest court, the courts ruled. I'm sorry, not 2000, yeah, 2003 and then 2005, the courts actually agreed with the parents. And they ruled in favor of the plaintiffs, the parents, and said that, yes, you're right. In New York City, kids were not getting a sound basic education. Later, they extended it to the entire state, but it started in the city. And the city and the courts cited a number of factors why kids were not getting a sound basic education. The most dominant factor, though, and the most quantifiable factor, is that kids were stuck in classes that had too many other kids, and therefore were being deprived of a sound basic education. So, you know, the court says sound basic education. Who decides exactly what that means? In this case, the highest court of New York State decided. And their decision basically says that, well, you're not giving your kids a sound basic education if there are too many kids in the classes. And so after that court decision was had, the legislature, along with the governor at the time, came up with a way to figure out how much more money would need to be in the state budget in order to provide that sound basic education for every school kid. And so up until today, that formula to determine how much additional money is still in use. And for a long time, this is what I campaigned on back in 2018. The state was not providing the full amount of that calculation. In fact, every year was about $4 billion short. And my campaign promise was we're going to get that full funding for foundation aid. I didn't get it the first couple of years, but after 2 years, we got it. We didn't get it. We didn't immediately fund the additional $4 billion. We put a schedule of 3 years to fully phase in. And for the very first time in history, this year, we have fully funded foundation aid in the state budget. Now, and so that's, you know, since Mayor Adams came into office and Chancellor Banks, that's an additional $1.2 billion every year for school funding. More than there was before, because now we have fully funded foundation aid for the first time. So what are you supposed to do with that foundation aid? What's all that money supposed to do? The city gets about, I think about 12, $13 billion a year total from New York State. What is that money meant for? That money is meant for providing a sound basic education for every school kid. It's as simple as that. But you're not going to be providing a sound basic education when there's too many kids in the class. And when I first started in the state senate, I and many of our colleagues in the legislature, both the Senate and the Assembly, used to ask de Blasio, and then we continue to ask Adams, what are you going to do to reduce the class sizes in New York City? They said, we would love to reduce the class sizes, but you still owe us money, meaning the state. You haven't fully funded foundation. You still owe us $4 billion statewide. New York City's share was about $1.6 billion at the time. And so there was not a whole lot. You know, my colleagues wanted to pass that class size mandate regardless. I argued that it was irresponsible for us to do so because we hadn't fully funded foundation aid until 2 years ago when we put it completely in. When we put it in, we then asked the new mayor, what are you going to do to reduce class size? There was no response. There was no plan. And so, you know, we're providing the full amount of school aid for sound basic education, which means that classes cannot be excessively large. But the mayor and the chancellor, you know, I can't blame them completely because this was 2 mayors ago. Bloomberg, under whose tenure the court decision was rendered and the foundation aid calculations were done. But, you know, the problem is that we still have a court mandate and a state constitution to uphold. I feel like I'm speaking too long because I'm just barely scratching the surface. But the bottom line is that the state is providing a lot more money every single year, statewide, and specifically for New York City. And classes have to be reduced to 20. And more than 20 kids for kindergarten through 3rd grade, no more than 23 kids for 4th to 8th grade, and no more than 25 for high school kids. Why those numbers? They're in my legislation, but I didn't dream up those numbers myself. You know where I got those numbers? Well, remember after the court decision, there were a lot of people who got together, led by the state education department, trying to figure out how much foundation aid, which is what school aid is called, how much foundation aid is going to be needed. And people from throughout the state, in particular New York City, said, this is the amount of money that we're going to need to provide the sound basic education. And very prominent in their calculation was the cost of how much it would cost to reduce class sizes in New York City to levels that are more along the lines of national and statewide norms. Because remember, the lawsuit started because there were too many kids in New York City classrooms. And so the DOE said that 20, 23, and 25 are where we should be in order to provide a sound basic education. And this is how much it would cost. And for years, the state failed in providing the full amount of how much it would cost. Until now. Now we have fully funded foundation. And now it is incumbent upon the city to reduce the class sizes to the levels that they said they would do with the additional money that they would get from the state. And so I am absolutely disappointed would be disappointed if the mayor and the chancellor continue to call this an unfunded mandate. In hindsight, I made a huge mistake. I put together the full amount of foundation aid, not thinking that we would have to be very specific about what that foundation aid would be, that people would remember how the foundation aid was calculated and what it was supposed to be used for. Instead, the city is now calling it an unfunded mandate, which is absolutely unacceptable. And in fact, it would be the reason for the state education education department to take back some of their money if they don't comply with the sound basic education. So I don't want that to happen. I don't want the city to lose any money. But from a practical point of view, what all of you are going to need to do, and our great superintendent, it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy phasing in the smaller class sizes. Some schools are potentially going to have less students because they just don't have the space. They don't have enough classrooms. We're going to have to build a lot more new schools. Here in Northeast Queens, absolutely. When I was a city council member 20 years ago, people complained to me about many of the schools in District 25. The complaint was not the quality, the complaint was there's just too many kids in the classes. And now 20 years later, I'm a state senator, it's still the same thing, and the DOE hasn't done anything to do that. Now, for a long time, they said they didn't have enough money because the state didn't provide it. Well, now the state is providing. So it's time to stop with the excuses and put our heads down and figure out this plan. We gave them 6 years to do the plan. And so the transition won't be easy. But here's the thing. I have no doubt that once we get past this transition, any transition is hard, but this is a transition for the better. And I have no doubt that 10 years from now, after we're totally through the transition, that no one will say 10 years ago when we started that transition and we've gone through it, that that was the wrong thing to do. In fact, it will be the right thing to do, because after generations and generations, our kids will finally have decent class sizes. And once again, this was not my definition of what a sound basic education is. This is what the highest court of New York State ruled. We have to follow that. We have to follow the spirit of the New York State Constitution and make sure every one of our school kids has a sound basic education. So I think I put a lot out there. I'm happy to come every single month, Wendy, if you want me. And I could, probably break the whole thing up into specific things. But I'm happy to do so because this is my top priority as a state senator and as chair of the New York City Education. Okay.
I know, but
Yes. Well, I wouldn't deign to know better than our superintendent. But Daniel and I have spoken about this many times, and it's not going to be easy, but we have to come up with a plan. Because 10, 20 years from now, I don't want to be in the same situation as I was in 20 years ago, with parents complaining. I mean, I hope I will be around too, but that's not up to me. But we have to do this thing, this is not about an election, this is about act. This is about the reason why I engaged in this election in the first place. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Lou. I want to tell you one of the great things that has happened, and because Senator Lou is so passionate about this work, is that his education of this CEC has led to our very close relationship with SEA. So we have had so many extensions to our buildings where we are gaining more seats every year. We have the new school coming up by Water's Edge. There's a new school also opening by PS 24 that's going to be another elementary school. So as we start to formulate our plan, we also now have the resources because of the pressure that the CEC puts on SEA to make sure that they keep increasing our seats. So, because he's right, our schools before that was happening were becoming very overcrowded, if not many were. So the collaboration and the community collaboration that happens, and just the education of Senator Lou, and I think it's really important for the CEC to hear that, because you'll also hear me talk about foundation aid in many of my presentations. And so I think it's important for you guys to know that there will be a plan coming up about class size reduction across the city, which will include our district.
Can I add one more thing?
Our superintendent talked about the additions to schools, and there's actually been some new schools. Those are primarily in the elementary years. I think there was a couple of additions to middle schools. Okay, great. Bell Academy is undergoing a pretty significant addition. 379 is a new school. And then we've had a couple of additions to our high schools here, which, you know, I guess they're not necessarily called districts 25, but they're in our area. And so, yeah, okay, good. And so what we need actually, what we desperately need is more high school seats. And part of the problem is it's certainly not the CEC that's been the problem. It's not even the DOE that's been the problem. It's the community at large. Because there has been opposition too many times against plans for new high schools. And so, you know, this is not just about the CEC. I've been to the community boards and put it down very clearly. You know, we need everybody engaged in this. We need more high schools in Northeast Queens. And now is no longer the time to say, no, not in my neighborhood. Because everybody thinks that, yeah, everybody agrees we need more high schools. You just don't want it within 10 blocks of where they live. And we're gonna have to get past that. We're gonna have to get past it. So anyway, it is more space, more schools that will result in the reduction of classes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wu, for coming in tonight. We look forward to you coming in.
Every month, if you know, tell me what you want to talk about, I'm happy to.
Okay, we
I'll
will.
try to keep it short.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Okay, at this time, we need any motion to adjourn? Eden, motion to adjourn. I second the adjournment. We will take a 5-minute break and we'll begin our business meeting.
Yeah, but no. I know, yeah. You somebody you don't run right. Here. Where we go? Yes, we gotta go to the building. So fun. I can't do very much without some part of me hurt. It's everything. It's everything. What's too much? 5 minutes, I don't know. You could just go out and come. Rockaway, 67 is a free surfing program. Beautiful, beautiful time. I very, very. But they're on the resort area. It's just very nice. We're all restaurants.
And then.
No. Even out. Sounds like you both. Everyone, I'm talking about it. Because I surf in New York, you go down there and you look there. It's like, I don't even know you, but you said, I can really kind. No, they're.
And
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
It will probably be, over.
Yeah. I mean, we need that in person now.
And then.
So like, what we do is nice.
It's getting more and more crowded. You know, but it is, so it's interesting, one of the folks that they got that actually picked up is, even non-successful unreasonable hospitality.
We're leaving there for our time.
So, yeah, based on how the
Parents will have a. Done by January. So 5%.
That's not in my email, the recommendations that. What happened?
Back in his shell. Say, dressed it up the way that they would for their restaurant, and just make sure they. And that kind of mentality just.
We have to learn on that.
We gotta learn to.
Exactly, right. Well, I was we are really right, like, the meeting about that, like, you know, like, it's already, like, running the minute, like, that's the word, the next is the house, like, for the parents, I don't know.
Yeah.
Working around the clock, it's cutting us out from the COVID. For the telecom, but then they were working overtime. It looks to me at least 2 shifts and weekends and really fucking up. I know where it is, but what's it gonna be? It's gonna be elementary school? Okay. But then 41 got it in the condition, but that's in 26.
Yeah. Yes, and that's gonna be down by. On schedule. Get something on. Get stuff, yeah.
You gotta be at school, you gotta be smart.
Go there, so just, you know, they.
Okay, let's call the business meeting to order. Carly, please do the roll call.
Neil,
Present.
Karan Rashid. Karan Rashid, oh, he's in the back, okay. I'll be right back. No, Eden,
Not even.
Friend Child, ask Philip Child.
Can't hear anything. Yeah, we'll just out there.
I hope you got that. Yeah, that was the thing, good luck,
Robert Zimmer,
Present. Thank you.
Lauren Luther.
So are there any new business that anyone wants to bring up to discuss? If there are no new business,
To me, just so I know what's on the agenda, so I have SDA coming.
in September.
This is giving updates, right?
Mhm.
On school projects,
I'll send you an email.
okay? What else did you want? And then you said we were going to discuss,
Confirm the school liaison list.
we could do a special ed on October.
October.
So you'll have to discuss what you want to discuss in October, right? Or October. What the test happens,
Where the topics are.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. That's the one I'm ready.
So in September, we'll finalize that liaison list so that in October and November, we can visit some of the schools. Because in December, we have to start talking about what recommendations we want to make to SCA. Because it's due in January. So even though we have a couple of months, yeah, I'll go fast, no, yeah. October and November, really.
You want, to send, out to the principals about the concerns that
Yes, yes. Thank you, Carly.
Rain's here.
Well, to that end, can we start contacting schools if we've already, or we have to finalize this list? Or-
No, well, you know what? I don't think you want.
We can start asking schools and principals for, what their availability is.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, are you keeping that list the way it is?
I would like to keep it the way it is for now. I mean, worst come to worst is, I'm gonna come in next month with a bucket and we each going to pick out. If you want the Democratic, that would be the most, the Democratic way. Okay, we each picked out from the bucket, the school, so everyone get a fair. What? Yeah. Okay, so that would be the, but either way, it'll be done in September.
Okay. Gotcha.
Are there any other new business? When do we have to finalize or discuss the budget?
I'm not, the reason why I haven't brought it up is because I wasn't sure if, I had asked her. I'd asked her if I was, what our actual numbers, since I have the range of already done, and like, I don't know, you think that, looking, they might be that. Like, the money might be that 25, I don't know yet, that's why I haven't, she hasn't confirmed, so I'm probably waiting before I say that.
Okay. Would it be okay to distribute last year's budget to the other members, just so they have an idea?
That's fine.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. But this year, Joseph Chow is the treasurer, right? So, okay. Right.
One of the things, I don't know if we're working with 15,000 or 25,000.
Right, so I don't have any other new business.
That's what we're going to take after school, I'm going to take it after one also.
Yeah.
So,
And-
unless we take it all.
I sent these, let them know that, I have a friend on it. So now it's just a paper fill of. So the two people. I will contact them, and the email, and the phone number.
Yeah, there was one email that, and it's a weird, it doesn't look like a regular email.
And then when I asked,
But do we know who that is?
I
So
only
we
have
have
that
two,
here,
so we have two people,
I can't remove a member that they're elected.
yeah.
So they have to not come a certain amount of time
I think
before
we-
then you guys decide to remove them.
But that email's bouncing, do we know?
I try to remove it when they come, but, you know, then when I asked he sent me the same email, the same phone numbers that I originally said that I deleted the number. So, kind of.
We have to increase it our bylaws, but I think 3 consecutive with no.
I'm throwing away the OJ bottle this morning. The Stevie can use it to pee. Doesn't matter, I can save one of these.
I don't think we realize.
Trash him in the pee in the car, then go to the bathroom. He should pee.
So in our bylaws, I believe if we miss 3 consecutive unexcused meetings, then we vote for their removal.
I have to send them a letter first,
Oh,
then they put them on, and then it's. I said, I have to know.
right, okay.
You send a letter now? I don't want to meet them with last name.
Mhm. And then we would have those seats vacant, and then we would take in, application.
Yeah.
And interview, applicants. Okay.
One of them fell in 1975 specific, so. More folks, yeah, so that's the large caveat.
If we know from her application what school,
I've tried to.
Oh.
We'll have it.
okay. All right then. And the borough president appointee. Yeah. Yeah.
I could read this trying to write that letter that we wanted to write.
Okay, so I will make the motion to adjourn the business meeting. Eden second. All right. Thank you so much, everyone on Zoom and here tonight. We will see you on September 13th. Wednesday, September 13th at 7 o'clock.
We'll be on the 6th floor this next month.
On the 6th floor of the district building. Thank you.
Don't remind me.
I'm gonna.